What's the process like designing the set and the costumes for such an iconic Theatr Clwyd production?
It's to start with, it's a massive privilege. I'm lucky enough to have done my work experience here many years ago when I was at uni. So actually, when I first got the job, it was a sort of full circle of being able to come back and design here. It's crazy. It's one of the longest processes I do in terms of because when the Panto runs, it stops obviously at the end of January, and we get the new scripts and or the new process of what we're doing in March. So actually it's a very long process, but a joyous one. So we get the scripts, and then Zoe and I, in the circumstance here, Zoe and I go through the script, come up with ideas, sort of talk about where we want to take it, whether that script has something that's intrinsically period based, or if we're going to take a new spin on things, and how we want to approach it. Obviously it's different this year with Christian writing, so it's interesting because obviously that's interesting in itself here, having had Pete writing for so many years. You know, there's a slight change up in terms of writer, so actually things that therefore have been previously might have changed. But yeah, so the process is in depth and really exciting. And so in terms of the actual process working here, it's nerve-wracking. Not nerve-wracking working here, but nerve-wracking because it is iconic and it's Christmas. And the last thing you want to do is ruin Panto at Christmas time. It's not the time to upset families.
How much glitter has been used this year so far?
Wow. In terms of our paint budget, a quarter of our paint budget is glitter. So that's a lot, a great deal of glitter. And I think that's more than we've ever used previously. It's definitely more than I've ever used previously. As a sort of reference point, I bought a just off Amazon, I think it was, this box of various shades of glitter that you can get, and I think there's like 36 shades of different glitter in it, and I was determined to use all of them, and then mixing them to create new different colours. So there's a great deal of glitter, and there shall be more.
Where do you get your design inspiration from?
It sort of varies from show to show, really. I've been designing here for 3 years, and so for me a big part of the rock and roll Panto has always been, I want to take it into that, like the original placings. So I look at late 40s, early 50s into 60s, and then I find the modern interpretations of that as well. But it's interesting to me to find out where the crux of it comes from and the history behind it. And whilst it might not be that a pantomime is historical as per period piece, perhaps, there's little nods to it, and as much as it might not necessarily seem it, no matter where you're coming from, I think as a contemporary designer, all of your influences will be historical in some capacity. So there's nods to different things, and there's elements that are taken through different characters, and that's sort of where we go. So in terms of inspiration and research, it's a very in-depth process, and then we start to just pull out the bits that we want to place in different places.
Which character's costume do you have the most fun creating?
That's really tricky, I'd say, I don't know actually. I really don't know. I have such fun with all of them. The costumes are such a delight. I'm a very lucky person. I guess the Dame's costumes are always something that we have a lot of fun with. So I think yes, except I'm a big fan of the villains normally, just because for me the joy of designing a dame is obviously you get to do multiple costumes, you get to try out different things. It's you sort of can push a lot of boundaries, whereas I think there's something quite interesting in the villains, baddies, usually only having 1 or 2 costumes, and actually so I think you've got to really hit it on the head straight away, and they've got to be sort of iconic, so that you can get someone on stage and everyone knows exactly who that character is really quickly, and so you want it to be fun, but also not scary, because scary is the wrong word, but it's got to have that element of fear, but still being slightly ridiculous and fun.